This will be a day long remembered. Now I am the master.
Welcome to another episode of Legends and Theories, and welcome to my review of Stranger Things 4 Volume 2. There will be spoilers for the final two episodes, and I'm going to go right into it, and I loved these episodes. They did such a great job with the story, and it was just really interesting to see how this all went and all the stuff they did to just make the story so insane. These episodes were extremely long, with one of them being, I believe, an hour and a half, and the other being 2 hours. But it was such a great time, and I really did enjoy both episodes. Going into it, we actually don't have the characters uniting until the end of it, which usually happens. Well, it doesn't happen in the show. It usually has them uniting in the second to last episode, and I think it's interesting that they broke the formula they have and definitely did it in a unique way. And I wasn't even sure how they were going to get everyone there, since if they wanted to go that way, they had one group in Russia, the other one in the middle of the desert by Vegas, I think. So they would be in Nevada, and the other group is back in Hawkins, so there was no way they'd be able to get there in a reasonable amount of time. But each storyline was handled really well and was really interesting. And looking at just some of the characters, I'll probably just take a look at the characters' storyline because, yeah, it's just so much happens with so many of them. A few of them stay in, relatively the same place. Look at the characters in the arc and the storylines of the different characters as I have been doing for the other Stranger Things reviews. The first thing that was interesting, the most, minor in terms of screen time, but the most major in terms of the story, in terms of reveals, is everything with Vecna. And since that's the main storyline of this, and he draws together two of the three storylines. It's really kind of four, but two of them combine back into one. And with that, we do get some really interesting stuff that I really did enjoy. I was actually sort of right when I predicted. I don't remember if I ever said this in a video. I may have just said it in some YouTube comment sections, that I thought that Vecna was actually the one who either created the Upside Down or more likely corrupted everything there and turned it to his will. We see things like the Demogorgons already existed, and he was able to create the Mind Flayer there, which is something that I was thinking there was a good chance was happening. I felt like it was either going to be he created the Mind Flayer or he already had the Mind Flayer there, and either seeing they had similar goals or that it was, easy to manipulate. He manipulated the Mind Flayer into working with him, and it seems I was basically right about it in my main prediction that he basically created it based off of stuff he drew as a child, and that was interesting. And looking at everything else that was revealed, you see that he wants to go and whip everyone out and has to kill four people to go and create this all and open up cracks of the Upside Down into the world. And it is confirmed that Vecna is actually the big bad of the entire show. He's the one who's behind the Mind Flayer and he is going to try and wipe everyone out. This is going to be extremely interesting to see. And so far, I have really been excited. I've really been enjoying the storyline. I think that just the stuff with Vecna was really interesting. And I'm just talking about the villain here and haven't even talked about the quest of the different characters. And looking at what was going on, we have the plan to take Vecna out, which is mainly shown through the perspective of Lucas and Erica and Dustin and Eddie, which is in the last episode, and the one before is just them setting up everything, setting their plan, and getting ready to go and try and kill Vecna, and I think that was really interesting. But when we see probably the simplest one of those storylines, one with Dustin and Eddie, we see that Eddie sacrifices himself so he is not a coward anymore, and he wants to go out a hero when he could have just simply left, but that would put the others in danger. And he really did a great job there where he went and sacrificed himself and had a pretty emotional death. I'll be talking about all the wrap ups together since I usually just do that. I wait for when they all come together, but his death was a great scene, and although I do wish maybe someone else was also permanently killed off in this episode, I still think it was a really interesting one, and that's just a really minor complaint. Looking at what happens with the characters of Lucas, his sister Erica, and Max, and we get to see how both Lucas and Max are starting to get close again, and we hear her giving a confession about how she kind of did want Billy dead, but came to regret it once it actually happened. And just looking at the stuff with Lucas, he goes and fights the head of the basketball team. I don't really remember his name, but he goes and attacks Lucas, and with it, Lucas is able to go and defend himself. And that was an intense fight, and when he ultimately won, it definitely felt earned as he comes to terms that he just needs to be himself and shouldn't try to fit in with the popular kids. And that was a nice moment. And yeah, with the storyline, it's pretty simple, and Erica doesn't have too much to do. She's just contacting the group and just flashing a flashlight, and she gets held down but manages to escape. Yeah, she doesn't do too much, but I feel like with just how much they were doing and how she hasn't really been doing that much this season, it is fine since we got a lot from her last season. And although it would have been great to see more of her, there were just so many other big storylines, and I don't think they could have added any more into these because, as I said, one of them's like I think an hour and a half, the other's 2.5 hours long. So yeah, I don't think they needed to make it any longer. And although it was great, it's definitely took a lot of time. And since I did have stuff to do, I wasn't able to fully watch it in one sitting. And I even kept cutting between mainly the first one, and I basically watched the second one from start to finish. I just I switched between my phone to my TV. So yeah, honestly, although Erica could have had more to do, I'm fine with that because it's got so many other great storylines. And moving to the one that's not really related to anything, we have the one with Joyce, Hopper, and Murray, and then the other one in Russia. And with that, we have another great set of scenes where we get to see both Joyce and Hopper reunite, and we see that they still love each other and want to go and get dinner together, although that seems like it's probably not going to be happening based on how this all ended. Yeah, the storyline there, that's another pretty simple one where they go and take out the Demogorgon and the few other, ones between Demogorgon and Demodogs that are there that were being experimented on. And with it, that was an awesome series of scenes. And it's great to see that there's just so many fun characters there, and I really enjoyed them all. And finally, moving to the big story of this. And this one is, although it's not as big as the other one, I feel like this is probably the most important one, following 11 and the rest of the group, with us seeing 11 being taken and still being inside of the facility, although Brenner does go and puts an explosive collar, I believe, on her, so she cannot leave, even though the other doctor does want to let her go. And we also see in the military infiltrate the base where they go and try to kill 11, and they are barely able to escape. And with this, I think that it is odd that they do have this military side plot in here, and it has to lead somewhere next season because it wasn't that super relevant besides just giving the group with Mike and eventually 11 just a small obstacle to overcome and continue on. But moving on to just what happens with them, they go to a pizza store, and there they go and create a sensory deprivation tank where 11 is able to go and fight Vecna, which is where the storyline ultimately ends. We see that Max has been taken in just trying to distract, and with this, everyone else that wants to go and kill Vecna have been trapped. And while doing this, 11 goes and fights Vecna, and although she's been pushed back and watches as Max is nearly killed, she's able to break through after Mike does talk to her, and she's able to find the strength to go and beat Vecna. And with it, she does push him back, and this gives everyone else the opportunity to go and destroy his physical body. Although it seems that his mind still exists, and he has found a way to either merge with the Mind Flayer or do something else so he can go and return, because it is said later in the episode that Vecna is still alive, which is felt by Will since he still has a connection to the Upside Down. And with it, we see a lot more crazy things happening as when Max returns and she has the injuries, but the injuries are still lethal, and they do kill her, which goes and cracks the ground apart in Hawkins and creates a giant portal at the center of the town. And there's so much destruction caused by this. I believe they said 22 people just died in the initial earthquake, with hundreds more being injured. And with that, that was just such a crazy thing, and it was such an awesome scene. With it, I was also feeling like that's how the season was going to end, with the Upside Down being unleashed, and the next season is just going to be a full all-out war, and Yeah, honestly, I think that was kind of obvious to me, but I was kind of surprised that I was able to correctly predict so much. And with it, yeah, I was just a little surprised, but I really enjoyed this so far. I think they did such a great job with it, and just moving to the finishing up of these different relationships. We see that 11 is able to save Max and bring her back, although it is too late for the portal, which has already been opened. And with that, it seems like, at least in the next season, if it takes place immediately after this one, Max is going to have an extremely bad time as a character since both her arms and legs were broken and she's been blinded. And yeah, it's a pretty tragic ending to what happened to her and how she nearly died. I mean, technically she did die and was brought back by 11. And I'm interested to see how her relationship with Lucas will develop because it's definitely going to be different since she's suffered just so much in the season and well, she seems that she's become permanently blind. I don't think that 11 could fix that, and it's already just a miracle she's alive. And although I think it could have been really interesting to keep her dead, I do think it's fine that she was brought back, especially since there are consequences and she's not just coming back perfectly fine and having nothing happen to her. She has basically lost her sight, and assuming the next season takes place immediately after this, she also won't be able to walk or really use her arms because that was just really insane. And looking at some other stuff, it's great to see a reuniting between Hopper and 11, and you see that Mike and 11 are also in a better part of the relationship. Will and Jonathan had a really nice moment where they, reunited and became closer. And yeah, so I just really loved this. There was so much great stuff that happened, and there was just so much that happened, and I just loved it so much. I think that they did such a great job with this. I really enjoyed it, as I said, and I am really looking forward to the next season. I think that's really it that I have to say. And with it, I do want to know what you think. But I'm probably gonna have a video or two out in the next few weeks just talking about some other stuff from this finale. But as for my review, I am done with that. So I do hope you enjoyed. And I'll see you on the next episode of Legends and Theories. Thank you for watching this episode of Legends and Theories. Please subscribe, like the video, share the video, leave a comment, check out the video on screen, and may the Force be with you.